Hello, I'm Dale Matthews. Election countdown is starting, and Mike can just barely hold himself back. Mike, are you holding yourself back?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm just trying to counteract your goofy story that somehow I'm chomping at the bit. I am kind of chomping at the bit.
well, then it's not a
Anxious
goofy
for this to
story.
I'm anxious for this to all be over with. To be honest,
Well, that's true. No,
I'm hitting the wall, or I'm hanging off the cliff by my fingernails, or something like that.
yes, right.
Yes.
Hang in there, baby. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yes.
now we're going to start off with news. Uh, as it turns out, Judy Aarons just walked right into the church. Which church was it?
Oh, River Valley.
River Valley Church. She walked right in there, and she brought a copy of the newspaper, Sunday's newspaper, with her, and she said, "I'd like to know how many of these pastors are associated with this church, River Valley." And the lady that she was talking to was a little reluctant to answer her, but there was another lady in the office who came right up and answered a question for her. And so Mike's going to put up that ad. Okay, here's the ad, the full color ad that appeared in Sunday's newspaper, along with that real nice article on the front page where they were trying to keep up with us. And so here's the, oh, well, that was the ad. There's the ad. And it's children who are feeling like drowning themselves because the levy hasn't passed. And as you page on down, you see that's a beautiful color. They spent a ton of money on getting that kind of color into the Courier. And page down. He's going to page down. Oh, okay. So here are the pastors that signed this. And what are they saying there, Mike? Why don't you just read the whole thing right up to the point of the pastors? Go.
Okay. It says, we can do this thing by voting yes on Public Safety Measure 1766. While not all human suffering can be prevented, the suffering caused by a lack of law enforcement is preventable, and we all can play a part. Please join with us in voting yes on Public Safety Measure 1766. Sincerely, all these people.
Now, that's a pretty impressive list of ministers. I mean, there's 21 ministers there. That's very impressive. Until you find out that 11 of them, 11 out of 21, are all from the same church.
Yeah. Now, that's more than half.
Once again, this is manipulation.
Yeah.
It's like listing, like we saw on this thing last night. Oh, look at all these people from the same family. That's not impressive. Oh, they were moved around and in different places and everything, but 11 out of 21 are all from the same dang church. And there's Dennis Weber. He's on there. Okay. Now I checked out some of the other names, and it didn't look like that there were other ministers that I'm aware of or on their website that are backing up Dennis Weber. But they're all in line, buddy. But see, you're supposed to be impressed. Why, that's pretty impressive. I was pretty impressed. 21 ministers. Wow, that's a lot of ministers. Yeah.
Wow.
From the same church.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. So now Mike's going to bring up another one. That's an interesting piece of news. Another part about being manipulated. So what I did is I went to the Cuffs website, and there was the same letter. Okay. And then in addition to that, you may recall, now Mike was there. Do you recall Roy Lindsay's reaction at the Republican Central Committee to the vote that they took? What was his reaction?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, it was anger, and this isn't right. It was, you violated the bylaws. I mean, really, what it was
nobody understands this vote. Did you get the feeling that there was nobody?
No, that was so stupid. Come on. That was dumb. This is just, it was sour grapes, sour grapes. But listen, I've never seen, if I was in that big of a minority, I don't think I would have. Yeah, that's a good one, huh? I don't think I would have thrown that much of a hissy fit. The people that were on the losing side of this vote at the Republican Central Committee, they were beside themselves. I mean, they were losing
I
their
don't think I've
cookies.
ever seen it like that. And they said to me, can you go back to your picture for a moment there, Mike, so we can see
Sure.
you too, bud? One of the things they said to us is we were invited to go there, even though we're not Republicans. And they said, we'd really prefer, they took a vote. We'd really prefer that you not videotape this. Well, afterwards, Mike and I looked at each other and said, I totally understand why they didn't want that videotaped.
Yes, yes. Yes, because the sausage making can be pretty gnarly sometimes.
Well, and the thing that we've seen before with the Republican Central Committee is there are people in that group. They are not at all happy with the democratic process. Is it because it has the word Democrat in it? They're not happy with that, because when the vote doesn't go their way, they just like, come on, nobody understands, and everybody should stop, and let's not do it this way. Really?
Right. Yeah, they want to pick up their ball and go home.
Yeah. It even extended so far as they put signs in the window of Republican headquarters across the street from the courthouse. Tell them what happened, Mike.
Well, they put the sign in there saying that the Republicans endorse a no vote on 1766, and the people that were for the levy,
the minority.
Yes, the minority, or shall we say, because there was some of these people that said, I'm for the levy, and some of the people, well, actually, very few of them admitted that they were for the levy, but many of them said they didn't want to take any position at all.
They had a vote. They lost the vote. That happens.
Right. So what they wanted is they wanted the signs taken down. And as a matter of fact, they took the signs down. And then they were confronted about that. Hey, wait a minute, why'd you do that? Oh, it's because, not all of us did. It doesn't say anything about the ratio of the vote on the sign. And of course, listen, I'm totally paraphrasing it. I wasn't there, okay?
Yeah, but still, I mean, when Ronald Reagan was elected, did he have to wear a sign around his neck saying, I was elected by a certain percentage? Come on.
Yes. Right. And that's what's going on. It's just completely sour grapes. It's really like children, little children. Anyway, they wanted the ratio, and the compromise was they wanted the ratio put on the sign. So not all of them are crazy right-wing whack job freakazoids.
That's amazing.
Some of are progressive.
The percentages are now on the sign. That's it's so petty.
That's gutsy. That's gutsy.
Oh man, it's petty. Okay, so now Roy Lindsay was so upset about this that 3 days later he was so nobody understood. Roy, give it up. You lost the vote again. So, and what are they going to do if they lose this vote? Why, the vote was totally invalid. Okay, so I'm on the Cuffs website, and I'm looking, and I see something, and it says Republicans and Democrats. I thought, that's interesting. Now, why is it saying Republicans and Democrats letter of support, or the support we have from Republicans and Democrats? And I thought, I wonder if, how much Roy Lindsay has to do with this. Well, let's call up the list here, and we'll tell you what it says. It's very interesting, I think. This is from the Cuffs website. So, Mike, what does this say? We're going to take turns so it's not boring.
Okay. It says, we are Republicans. We are Democrats. There is one thing we can agree on: public safety. We are united in support of Measure 1766. Republicans and Democrats in Josephine County voted yes and built our juvenile justice center, which now sits empty.
Now, when I first started reading this, I thought Republicans and Democrats in Josephine County voted yes in capital letters. I thought they did. Yeah, on building the juvenile justice center. Well, okay.
Yes. And was there a measure on that people voted for?
No, I don't think so. But go ahead.
I don't remember that, but you never know. So anyway, yes on Measure 1766 to use what we have built. Republicans and Democrats in Josephine County voted. We have a new sheriff. He can't do it alone. He needs our help.
Now, Yes on Measure 17666 to support your new sheriff. Put patrols back on the road. Republicans and Democrats in Josephine County voted yes on our adult jail many years ago, many
Yes.
years ago, was built to keep criminals off our streets. Yes
It
on
was
Measure
overbuilt.
Sorry?
It was overbuilt to keep
Overbuilt, yes.
criminals.
Yes on
Yes.
Measure 1766 to use what we have built. Go ahead.
Oregon Republican Party platform. We support the highest prioritization for the funding of public safety. Well, yes, not in this county. We don't. And that may be a mischaracterization. We just don't like this levy, shall we say. Oregon Democrat Party platform. We believe in protecting the vulnerable from neglect and abuse, especially children. Well, naturally.
Okay, so think about the children. So
yes.
So at the bottom are a bunch of names, and they're mostly wheels in the Democrat Party. But there's Roy Lindsay and a couple other people who support the levy. They're Republicans who support raising your taxes. They're Republicans who are voting for every levy that comes along. They're Republicans that are tax and spend Republicans. Mm-hmm. And there's Roy, and he's finally having his way. Why, everybody will understand this. Carefully written. Why, Republicans say yes, yes, yes to the jail that was built several years ago. And Republicans say yes, yes, yes to this. Hey.
Several. I believe that was 2000 when the jail was built. That is several years ago.
So
by anybody's
but they're not
calendar.
trying to deceive you. Why, you just have to read it carefully. That's all. Really, really carefully, because the Republicans are behind us all the way.
Well, you know what? This is very interesting, and it just add this to the list of reasons that we have discovered during this whole campaign. These people will do almost anything and say almost anything, and they don't really care whether it's valid or not. And just as long as it appeals to your emotions and not to logic, we can make up a bunch of fake numbers. See, the thing is, when you say crime is down 35% over the last 20 years, okay, that appeals to the statistical part of your brain. But when you say crime is up 850% in the last 3 years, oh, my hair's on fire. I can't believe it.
It looks like it is.
Yeah, that's it's an emotional appeal.
I just can't tell you how disappointed I was in that process, in that room, because I'd heard about this and we'd reported about this before. But to watch these people, their reaction to a free and fair vote and claiming nothing's free, nothing's fair, nobody understands this, everybody's confused. Nobody was confused.
No, nobody was confused.
So we talked about general themes on Thursday that happened at the admin meeting, and you need to step back occasionally from the forest, from the trees, so you can see the forest and what are the patterns. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the admin meeting, because there were a lot of things that happened there and the individual details. So one of the important things that happened at that Thursday admin meeting, where all the action is the commissioners talked about the Sunny Valley sand and gravel operation. This is the one that's run by Andreas Blech. And Mike knows something about the controversy and why that room was packed. Really, it is the little back room and not room for very many people, but it was packed. They were standing in the hallway just to get a chance to listen and not even speak. Tell us a little bit about what you know about the controversy about this thing, please, Mike.
Well, I know that some of the neighbors don't like it because they're, the future, what the future holds for them is years of dust and noise of trucks going back and forth. And so some of their neighbors.
30 years.
Okay, 30 years. Yeah, so which is, it's relatively substantial. So they're, and understandably, some people are concerned about it, and they're hashing out the details. No doubt controversial.
A baby born today will still be hearing this when she is 30 years old, and that's just phase one.
Yes,
it's a big deal to the people out there.
And if the economy stays like it is, she'll still be living at home.
So one of the things that was fairly controversial about this, besides the fact that people were there hoping they might get a chance to say something, ha ha, don't they ever watch this show? Okay, so one of the things about this is that when Wally Hicks came in to talk with the commissioners, Simon Hare's looking at this, he says, this doesn't look like the version that I was given. Well, there have been some changes. And he says, well, are they substantial changes? Well, yeah. Now, wait a minute. They're looking at this thing. There are, according to Wally, substantial changes to the original. These commissioners haven't had a chance to read it, but they decided to move it ahead to the Wednesday weekly business session. And of course, we haven't had a chance to read it, and it's not posted. Now,
yes,
Mike,
standard operating procedure. This
tell
sounds
me,
like everything is going forward according to plan.
It is. It is. It's not.
This is not unusual.
The people out there would really like to know what it says. Not posted.
Yes.
The commissioners might want to know what it says. They can go ahead and vote.
How can they possibly take a vote on something that they haven't read? And when I say that, yes, right, tradition, yes, but when I say that, people go, of course, yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. There must be some snafu going on here. Yes,
yes,
it is a snafu. Yes,
all up. Yes, it's a snafu. All right. Okay, another thing which really caught the crowd by surprise. I was kind of shocked, and I don't get easily shocked, and Mike never does. But there's something called the Land Use Board of Appeals, and so a huge group of people out there have gone to LUBA, Land Use Board of Appeals, and said, "Hey, you're in charge of land use. We're bored of appealing things. We want to appeal this to you." Okay, and so LUBA is looking at this now. I think everybody thought that as long as it's under appeal, you can't just proceed. You need to find out what the results are. Well, according to the commissioners, this guy can go right ahead. Go right ahead? What? Yeah, well, even though it's under appeal. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, my angle on this, I'm not one of these people who's in favor of, putting out a public hearing, inviting all your neighbors over and asking them if you can do something, because listen, you're going to have somebody that has a problem with what you're doing. It's inevitable. It happens all the time. And I own property down in Napa that you can't do a damn thing without all of the neighbors coming out of the woodwork and telling you, well, we don't want you to cut a tree down over there because, that's going to disturb somebody or damage the ecosystem or whatever. Now, if those are legitimate points, that's fine. But the problem is it adds huge amount of cost to the process and ultimately, in many cases, makes it, it prevents the process by becoming too expensive. And I
totally understand that. However,
I'm fine with looking into stuff like this, but let's not go crazy.
This is a 30-year project.
And right.
Once this goes, that's it.
Okay. So where, listen, if we're going to buck every aggregate mine, we're not going to be able to make concrete here. That's really what it comes down to. So at some point, you have to, I don't know. Anyway,
so what they did is they went to a little bit like the miners. They're going to something as somewhat like a court, the Land Use Board of Appeals, and they're saying, we don't like this. Has this been done legally? And they feel, I don't know if they're right, they feel that they've got some points on their side, and the Land Use Board of Appeals is going to decide. And the Land Use Board of Appeals, LUBA, they don't always go one way or another. They look at the law, and then they make a ruling. Okay. Now,
yes.
While they're looking at...
Here's my problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, my problem with Land Use Board of Appeals, that sounds like an administrative court to me. And why can't we just deal with these situations? If it comes down to making this decision, have a judge make that kind of decision. This is the state telling you what you can and can't do, and And I'd be willing to bet that more often than not, they come down on the side of quashing free trade.
I'm not sure that's true about Luba, but I will tell you one other thing that I think is interesting about this, and that is the miners, they want their day in court, and they don't want the BLM to come in and burn down that cabin until they've had their day in court. These guys want their day in court. They don't want those trucks roaring through their community or whispering through their community until they've got their day in court. However, the commissioners just told them, oh, that guy can go right ahead and do it while it's under appeal. So they can go right over and burn down those cabins while it's under appeal. Is there a difference?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's a difference. Hard to say. I'm not familiar enough with it as anybody who is familiar and is listening to this can probably understand by listening.
Hey, what do I know? Yeah. So,
no, okay. I'm just giving my opinion on the whole process. I've been on the a land use fight with the county issue before, and let me tell you what. My experience has been there a bunch of dirty, rotten. I'll just stop right there. Well,
it's tell us what you feel, Mike.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult to get anything done without pulling your own hair out of your head.
Okay, all right. So it's better than pulling somebody else's out. Well, maybe not better. Okay, so
yeah, maybe
talking about the vehicles sort of whispering through the community. Well, one other thing happened on here, and this one of the advantages of our show is we can tell you what's actually happening and the trends that are happening and the dirty little things that are happening. So whispering. During this meeting, the place was packed and there were people whispering to each other and trying to share notes. And occasionally there's somebody that's usually a little bit older or just not thinking clearly, and they're whispering a little too loud. I've noticed this especially with county employees. Every time Rob Brandis, I am not making this up, buddy. Every time Rob Brandis from Public Works comes into a meeting, he engages one of the other county officials in the back of the room in some kind of conversation, and it ends up on our camera, on our audio. I mean, this guy cannot keep his voice down, and he's having sometimes a normal tone conversation with somebody, or loud enough for me and the camera to hear, and the commissioners, because you see him looking up there. It's Rob Brandis. He does it all the time. The commissioners never say anything because he's one of their employees. Hey, what a wonderful guy. So go ahead and whisper really loudly, okay? So at this meeting, Larry Graves was doing the same thing with the next person to him, whispering loud enough. I could definitely hear every word that he was saying, and the commissioners are trying to talk. They have blathering to do, and how are they going to have a 2.5-hour meeting when somebody else is doing blathering?
Yeah.
Right. So
that's not fair.
Here's the funny part. At the very end, after they said, well, we're going to move this ahead to the weekly business session, the people in the audience looked kind of shocked, especially about this Luba thing where he can just go right ahead. Simon Hare said, go ahead. Oh, really? Okay, so they're kind of milling, well, should we leave or not? And I go over and I sit down next to one of them because there was a seat that's finally available. And I'm whispering to her at such a low level that she couldn't even hear me, and I got right up next to her ear. She was still having a little trouble hearing. So it's very similar to what happened when Keith Heck made that announcement, like, oh, you're chortling with joy. No, you can't even hear me, and the camera couldn't hear me either, okay? But they could tell that I have an expression on my face. Oh, you can't have an expression on your face, so that happened. So Simon here stops the thing. He says, I very much appreciate it, Mr. Matthews, if you wouldn't be doing it. And I said, nobody can hear me. She can barely hear me. Well, it's not up to you, says Keith Heck. We're the ones that are making the rules, blah, blah. Okay, says, okay, fine. And I go in to sit down. But Larry Graves says, well, I could hear every word. And I said, sure you could.
Yes.
She couldn't hear me, and I'm right next to her. I'm 6 inches closer than 6 inches to her ear. She couldn't hear me, but Larry Graves, that perfectly honest guy at all times, could hear everything. He just
So now let me ask you something, because something's sticking in my head about this thing here. How would it be that Simon would say, yeah, okay, you guys can go ahead with your procedure or what you're doing there. Didn't Wally have anything to say about that? Because,
so glad you said that.
Well, hang on a second, because apparently he said there have been substantial changes to things. So, I mean, so I'm assuming that there was.
Simon Hare says, I guess he can go right ahead. Wally Hicks confirmed that.
Well, then I guess the changes, though they were substantial, had nothing to do with whether or not they can start going.
They're not supposed to do that.
Not supposed to. Well, wait a minute, though. I mean, who's the vetter of not supposed to do? Isn't that supposed to be Wally? I mean,
wouldn't you think?
Well, yeah, but how is it? Are you making that call? Because I don't know. I mean, you're saying they're not supposed to do that. Wait a minute. Obviously,
years of
I mean, certainly that had to be part of the process. Here I am. I'm looking at the paperwork. Yep. I'm Wally Hicks. I'm going, yeah, okay, all right, go ahead. I mean, do you make that call if you can't make that call?
It's the first time I've ever heard that, and I've been going to these for years, and every time they get to a point where they say, oh, there are substantial changes, well, then we're going to have to postpone this. Every single time, because they're substantial.
Right. Now, what was Simon indicating that they could start doing stuff up there right now, yes, or after the weekly business session when they vote on it?
Right now.
Wow. Well, yeah, they're either right or wrong about that.
Yeah. As is the case with many things with the commissioners. But it brings up a question. I mean, here's all these people. There's one guy. Okay, he's a rich guy. And there's all these people who have concerns. And maybe they're full of it. They don't think that they are. But
right,
of course, the normal procedure is not followed, it just makes them wonder.
Well, wait a minute. Has this been to Luba before?
No.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
In that case, I have no opinion whatsoever.
Okay, you do have an opinion about single point of access. Tell us about single point of access, please. Single point of access to the.
I only have one door on my house, so I can't sneak out the back door. That's my story.
So
single point of access. What are you talking about?
Well, Cheryl Walker had brought up this thing where there should be just one place where you can enter into the courthouse unless you're a highly exalted elected official. It's going to cost us a fortune, and maybe there should be this twisty a ramp. I'm not kidding you. She's going back and forth for wheelchairs to come, and it can take up the lawn. And really, nobody liked that plan.
Okay, I can sum this all up basically in one sentence. It's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't care. I mean, this is who these people are. I'm really getting sick of this. They never met a new person they didn't want to hire. They never met a new project that they didn't want to kick off at the cost of $100,000. These people are they're the wrong people in there. I can't wait for 2016 for
yeah, buddy. Okay, so that's a really important point Mike just made. One other thing is apparently they're not going to go with the gold plan. They're going to go with the silver plan, and our other pocket's going to pay for most of this, because most of it, but not all of it, is going to come out of our state taxes that they've been gathering up in order to be able
that's
to do
different.
This project.
That's different. That way, the county people don't have to pay for it.
I even asked the security guys without naming any of them. And I said, what do you think about? Well, it would be nice to have extra security. I said, really, they need to close down the first floor? Well, maybe the commissioners are concerned. They should be concerned. They should just be concerned about being tossed out of office.
I wonder, I mean, do they have, I guess they don't have other courtrooms.
No, but all the courtrooms are on the second floor. So you just make it so that you can only get to the second floor by a single elevator, and you have the guard station there. And I mentioned this to the guard guys, and they said, well, yeah, that would cost us nothing. Well, that's right. That would cost us nothing.
Yes. Yeah, here's the problem. That makes sense. That's the problem.
It would cost nothing. Oh no!
And why do something for nothing when you can spend a crap load of money? That we don't have. By the way.
Well, okay. The next thing is the Planning Commission. Now, Ward Ockenden is on the Planning Commission. I don't know, but the commissioner said, even Simon Hare was saying, well, isn't it traditional that usually when you're on the Planning Commission, it takes so much work to get there, so much homework and everything, that when your term ends, that you're usually automatically renewed for the next term. Well, maybe not in this case. Oh, really?
Well, wouldn't that have people on the Planning Commission forever?
No, they would be on there for 8 years instead of 4.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Or 4 years instead of 2, or a whole year instead of half a year, or 2 weeks instead of 1. But I mean, it would be because the tradition is, okay, maybe it's a stupid tradition. Apparently, they're going to break tradition specifically for, I don't know, but it sounds like for just one person. They speak in such cryptic way, it's hard to tell what the heck is the controversy, because they'd rather that you not know what the controversy is. Speaking of controversy, we mentioned this 2 days ago, and the commissioners were breaking the law again. This is not news, says Mike Jones. I know, but they are not supposed to.
It is news.
No, well, okay. They're not supposed to talk about the budget outside of the budget committee, because the commissioners form half of the budget committee and they appoint the rest of them. And 5 out of 6 of the budget committee, maybe the most important thing is how much money is coming in, are super strong supporters for the levy.
Yeah, but then they balanced it with Peggy.
Right, but last year it was all supporters. But this year there's Peggy Goodwin, and she's basically the only person asking any serious questions. Occasionally someone will say, well, isn't it true that it's all wonderful? Yes, it is. I'm glad you asked that. Now, but instead, Peggy's saying, why would you spend the money? They're like, hey, who appointed this lady? So,
yeah, that's right. Yes.
Okay, so the result was that Keith Heck told one of the county workers, after the commissioners had spoken illegally about they're not supposed to do this, it's against state budget law. I mean, it is the law. They did swear to uphold the law. I get tired of hearing that. Anyway, he actually tasked one of the people there to go lobby the budget committee. Well, they're half of the budget committee. Go lobby the rest of them. Go lobby them. You're not supposed to be even talking about it, and much less assigning somebody to go lobby the others.
Well, I guess that saves them from being called on it themselves. Well, I didn't do it. I sent so-and-so to do it. That's not the same.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is manor development. No progress with manor development out at the airport, but Larry Graves did report that manor development asked for and gotten a 30-day extension beyond the 30 days they gave them to start doing what they're supposed to do. Well, we need more time. It's May.
So, okay. So what does that bring us to as a deadline?
Probably July.
July, yeah.
Yeah, after promising to do it from January 2nd. Not a word, not a dime. They've had lots of words, but no dimes, nothing. And meanwhile, the bill is building up with the county employees that had to get a raise retroactively immediately so they could get to work on this.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Joyous.
Yeah, right. Okay. Then here's a funny one. As it turns out, that if you want to get a certain kind of rating from the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, you have to have a really good reason to get this certain kind of rating, or they won't spend any money on it. And as Larry Graves is explaining it, and he's kind of smiling when he's telling the commissioners, he says, the thing is that if there were obstructions out there, then we'd sort of automatically get the money to do something about it. And there just weren't any obstructions. And then he's telling them, you just really got to see the tape when we're able to put it up. We've had a little technical problem, but we'll get that up. And so suddenly, or pretty quickly, there was a 100-foot tree that appeared in the approach to the airport. And we reported it to the FAA, and they took quick action to see that we got the funding. And then he said, you know what happened next? And they're all kind of smiling. He says, that tree disappeared.
Yes, it did. Because 100-foot trees, they grow up overnight like weeds.
Well, Cheryl made a little joke. She says, we ought to get more of those trees and we'll put them in our county forest. So they'll grow up
Yeah.
and they can cut them down.
Yes.
So
Right.
how
Oh
did
yeah, yeah. Because we're in favor of doing that sort of thing.
how did the tree appear
Yes.
and how did it disappear? It's a little bit like the signs, the anti-levy signs. Just the next morning, they were all
Well,
gone. How did that happen? Don't know.
it's because they know that the FAA cares just as much as they do.
Oh, but the FAA wasn't going to come down here and check to see if there really was.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They don't care. It's whose money is it anyway? It's not theirs. What the heck do I care if we give 50 grand to some airport down in Southern Oregon? Whoopie do.
It's just our tax dollars at work again.
Yeah, they don't care. They listen. If both of my hands represent the government employees, all but one of these fingers doesn't care. Okay.
Scott, I think
care.
Some people in our county government do care.
Okay. Yeah. I said, I didn't say all of them. I said one of the fingers represents the people within government that actually care about it.
Now you're
the rest of them,
this little finger, but okay, there's another finger.
Yes.
I know.
Right. Wow. Yes, I know. But it's a family show.
Okay. All right. So it is. Hey, hi, kids.
Yes.
Okay, so another one is, remember when you and I went out to the airport, because Larry Graves, of a 2.5 hour meeting, he took up half an hour. Really? Okay, so we went out to the airport days, DAZE, and while we were out there, did you see that there were thousands of people, Mike?
I didn't see thousands of people. I must admit, I didn't see that. There might have been 100 peak there when,
But that's not thousands, is it?
No, it isn't thousands. We did see a major aircraft accident while we were there. Yes, that was pretty scary. Yeah.
Well, Larry
perhaps we have tape of that somewhere. We can.
Yes, I think we probably do.
We can play it on the program. Yes, right, it was tragic accident.
It was a radio control model airplane. It almost hit a helicopter, but okay, came dang close. Okay, and these helicopters are super expensive. So, as Larry had told the commissioners in the previous meeting, I never said that, Larry. You're not going to be able to compete on honesty with us. You just can't do that, buddy. Okay, so, and even if we pulled out the video, he'd just say, so. That's a perfect answer. He told the commissioners in a previous meeting that thousands of people were there. It was a huge success, Mike, much bigger than any mere mortals who were watching with their own eyes can or videotape. No, there was people.
Well,
there were the hidden numbers.
He probably meant over the whole 2 days or whatever.
Yeah, thousands.
Hour long. Thousands of people.
Hundreds, maybe, if we weren't there, but thousands. Okay. Yeah. These are the dark numbers of attendance.
Yes, dark numbers of attendance. Yes, unreported attendance.
It's unreported. Yes, they didn't report it. They didn't say anything about their stolen. Anyway.
But they're keeping statistics on their at least they are keeping statistics on their unreported,
right, which they're not going to tell us about, right? Because
if they would just do that for the unreported crime, then we'd all be in good shape. We'd have good numbers.
So remember when he had suggested, you and I talked about this before, he had suggested, Larry Graves did, that they need some kind of observation area because they're just being flooded with all these people who are coming in, around the clock from all over the world. And they want to sit there and watch airplanes taking, and they're going to need a huge awning, and it's going to take all this money, and they're going to need all this seating area. Yeah. Remember when he talked about that? Well, the airport board got involved, and they said, I think maybe a couple of picnic benches would be just as good, with maybe an umbrella over each of them.
Yes.
No, there goes the awning plan, the huge awning plan with the
and I kind of agree with that. I have spent many hours at that airport, sitting around talking to old pilots who tinker on their planes for
that's unsanitary, isn't it? Tinkering on their own planes?
They use it as an excuse to get out of the house, I'm sure. But and there's some enthusiasts and stuff out there. I don't think it's ever that crowded, though. It was a pretty sleepy place, as I recall.
It is not building an empire. Now stop thinking that. Okay. So now you know the story of an Oregon lifeguard, the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
You want to just fill us in a little bit about Oregon lifeguard and
well,
how?
And listen, I'm not an expert on what's going on, but the gist of what I understand is that Oregon lifeguard came in here. They got an exclusive contract for the medical chopperage, shall we say, for the lack of the right term, to move people out of here by air, in the entire county. And apparently there wasn't a whole lot of cooperation by everybody in the county. What was it, AMR, or
the folks out in the Illinois Valley also.
Right. Yes. But in any event, they couldn't make enough money to get by, and so they're now, I guess, not here anymore.
They had signed a deal with another company. Oh, no, you can't use that other company. So Cheryl Walker was so desperate to get this done that she joined the 911 Commission and got her husband to join it too. And they were trying to press this through. And the only thing that really stopped all that, in fact, they went right up to the edge where, no, these are the only ones that are acceptable. And then the guys go out of business. All right, so Larry Graves had an explanation of why they went out of business. Want to know why they went out of business? Because there's not enough space at the airport.
Oh, sure. Yes, for one chopper.
Not enough space at the airport.
Yes. I'm thinking that, Cheryl Walker wanted that whole thing to go off. So I would imagine that if she wants to free up space at the airport for that chopper, that would have happened. I'm guessing that story's bogus.
Well, here's my problem in general with Larry Graves. Okay, so he has a nice airport days, and then he tells us thousands of people were there. He's got something else that looks like, oh, I completely vetted the Manor Development guys. And then this thing about the tree that disappeared. And I think he does many good things, but then he's always got to add on something else where it just, Oregon lifeguard, yeah, too bad that they didn't make a go of it here. They're going to go up to Tillamook, but really the huge community. But the thing is, he's telling us that it's because there's not enough space. So we're going to need more building and more space at the airport because after all, it is the heart of the community. Oh, I thought the library was the heart of the community. No. The animal shelter is the heart of the community. No. The Daily Courier is the heart of the community. Aren't there like 5 hearts of the community at least? The Boys and Girls Club, heart of the community.
Here's my thing on the airport. I tend to think that if indeed the airport is a very important thing and people are using it, then income is going to start rolling in there like crazy and justify the existence of the airport and the support of it. Why the county is there involved, and why can't that be a private operation? And if it sustains itself, fine. And if it doesn't, see you later.
My big problem is don't lie to me, and there's no need to exaggerate. Stop with all this exaggeration, which then puts it into the category of deception. Don't do that.
Well, you know what? If you're going to make the airport under the purview of the county, then money will be wasted at the airport.
What's our biggest problem? Nice. What's the biggest problem for the pro-levy people and this election levy, election, whatever? The biggest problem, they say, is trust. Mm-hmm. Now, how the heck are we supposed to trust these county officials when they get up and they say this kind of stuff? We can't trust them because it's like the best of all lies. It has all this truth to it, and then it leads to a lying conclusion.
Yes. And this is the issue. This is the issue with the levy push is that, every time these guys open their mouth, I go, I can't believe we went there. It's just a new thing, one thing after another. And I had a fairly decent opinion of a lot of these people before this whole process got started.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
And now it's just like, wow. I mean, who are these people?
They're
are
coming
these people?
unglued. Oh no, you don't. Nobody understands this vote. What are you talking about?
And if this does not go their way on Tuesday, you're going to see some people losing their cookies.
Oh man, they've already done it. I mean, if you just look at that, you got to say, what side am I on? What side are these guys on? Who is it whispering in Cheryl Walker's ear? Is it Jesus whispering in Cheryl Walker's ear? Go ahead, break the law, Cheryl. That's not Jesus. It's the other guy. Well,
let me see here. Now, if you vote against the levy, you might be a Satan worshiper. Now, wait a minute. You're making the case that it's the other way.
Well, isn't that what all big liars do? Is they always try to make it look like you're doing exactly the same lie that they're trying to get away with?
Yeah, pretty much.
What did they say when we pointed out that we had the videotape of signs being stolen? Well, both sides are doing it.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
No,
both sides couldn't possibly do it.
Yes, that's one of the funniest things. And when you point out that they're getting all these fake video views and all this kind of stuff. Oh yeah, both sides do that. It's funny whenever you get to close to nailing them on stuff. That's nothing. Don't worry about that. It's this over here we got to talk about.
Well, that's a magic.
Whatever.
Don't look at this. Don't watch this hand. Look at this one instead. And over here, it's picking your pocket.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, one more from Larry Graves. This is great. The guy's just unbelievable. Every time he talks, I want to record all of it so we can show it to you. So he's talking about the U.S. Forest Service is coming up on the end of like a 60-year deal with this, or 75 years, or 2,000 years, or whatever. Anyway, they're coming up on the end of an agreement with the county, and they'd like to renegotiate. But then there's some things that they would like. And Larry Graves says, well, in order to really do everything that they want to that property on which they're renting, it's going to cost us a bit of money. But so he said, so here's what I did. He says, on my own, I told the Forest Service, this is Larry Graves talking, that it was going to cost them $3,000 a month now to rent that property. Whoa, that's out of our pocket again. See, that's the other pocket. $3,000 a month. They were like, well, where'd you get $3,000? Well, in order to make the kind of payments on a loan that I suggested the county get, the county is going to borrow money to improve that property. It'll cost us $3,000 a month. And so I told them that their new rent was $3,000 a month. Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Hey, look, we've got a net zero cost to us. Yay.
Well, there's a couple of problems. One is it's kind of dishonest, okay? Because you're supposed to set the rent. You're supposed to set the rent at a price that is justifiable. He said he just made it up, and it's hugely more than it ever was before. Second, that's our money. Third, we're going to borrow money so that we can build this and then overcharge the taxpayers. It just never stops.
Standard operating procedure.
Plus, it's another lie. Don't tell him it's 3,000 when you're just making it up. He even admitted he just made it up on his own. Isn't that lovely?
Well, yes, but there is something to note in that situation. You can't pull that on a private party, because if you try to pull something like that on a private party, the private party is going to say, well, the market doesn't really bear that. So,
yes,
guess again, pal. But, they know that they can pull stuff like that in the federal government because, once again, they don't care.
But you're so hard on the county commissioners and that poor, wonderful Larry Graves, Mike. I mean, please, the guy is just doing the best that he can.
Well, here, let me illustrate the point that most government employees don't care. Larry Graves never would have made the presumption that he could pull off something like this if half of government employees did care.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's mine.
Yeah.